On this episode, I tell you a little bit more about one of my favourite bioretention plants, but what I'm telling you is a reason not to use it some of the time. Just watch the video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro, where again today we're coming to you from lovely Townsville in North Queensland in Australia. Now today what I wanted to talk to you about is one of my favourite bioretention plant species, and we've done a video about this before as the people over there look at me really strangely as I'm talking to myself on camera. And yeah, favourite plant species in bioretention, and that is Imperata cylindrica. We've done a video on this before, but when I posted that, a good friend of mine, Paul Dubowski, pointed something out to me. He showed me a picture of something and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And Paul was suggesting that I should probably at some point make another video to point this out. Well, at this bioretention system in Townsville that I'm at today, I've seen that factor at play, so I've decided to make the video. So Paul, thanks for the idea up front, and I've finally got a chance to do it. So, what are we talking about? So firstly, Imperata cylindrica. If you haven't seen the first video I made, by all means go back and watch it, but we'll do a quick intro. Imperata cylindrica is this plant species that we see growing here. It spreads via rhizome, so it can run sideways and really fill up a bioretention system. You can see a lot of it throughout this system. So the vast majority of what's in here is Imperata cylindrica, also known as blady grass. But, and obviously some trees, you see a couple of other miscellaneous grasses, and there are some lomandras hidden in here as well. There's one right in the centre of shot there for a lomandra. And so this is what Paul suggested that, I really needed to get into a video. Imperata cylindrica, I love it because of its ability to get into bioretention systems and just run in amongst all of the other plants and fill up all the little gaps in the filter media so there's no room for the weeds to get going. You shade out all the weeds early and they're, nicely kept under control, much easier to manage. But Paul quite rightly has pointed out to me that it does have a tendency at times to become a bit of a monoculture. And he showed me a photo of some super healthy Imperata cylindrica that had overrun everything else in a bioretention system. Now, if that's a bioretention system like this one here, that's beside some bushland, and you're not after a highly aesthetic look, you're more after a look that blends into the surrounding environment, then you know what? That's probably a good thing. You've got a vigorous plant species that looks kind of, rough and tumble like the bush around it, then sweet. That's I reckon that's just fine. But Paul was making a really good point. That say if this bioretention system was right next to a park, it is next to some walking paths up there, but say it was right next to a park where you're after a higher profile, more aesthetically, pleasing, higher amenity, maybe wanted some flowering plants in there, then maybe Imperata cylindrica isn't the best choice because of this propensity to take over and to outcompete everything else. Now I'm not saying don't use it there. My opinion's still out on this, but when I came out to this particular basin and just saw how well it was doing, I was like, you know what, there's something in this and we do need to talk about it. So, summary, good plant, really vigorous. I mean, obviously, here's the thing, I keep making videos about bioretention plants, which is obviously a strictly, really strongly geographically limited video, right? Because this only applies to anywhere where, this is an appropriate plant to put in. By all means, whatever you do, don't put it in somewhere where it's a weed. This is funny. Speaking of weeds, we love our melaleucas in Australia, beautiful native plant. If you go to Florida, they will be a massive pest because it's the Everglades they've got in there. They're a noxious weed, effectively. But, where am I going back to? Okay, so summary of this video, Imperata cylindrica definitely has heaps of potential in bioretention because it's so vigorous. It seems to like the hydrologic regime in here. It just gets in amongst, fills up all those gaps. But just be aware, if you're after a system with really high amenity, where you want those other plant species coming through and shining through, maybe Imperata is not the best choice because it might just end up dominating, like in this system. Cool. That's it for this episode. If you like what you're hearing here at Ideanthro, if you want to find out more, there's a few ways you can find us. You can find us online at ideanthro.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Ideanthro. We post all the videos there. So if you want to like the page, by all means do it and you'll see stuff pop up in your feed. You can also find us on Instagram and on YouTube. Cool. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Paul for the, the idea for this video. But we'll yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.